So I'm just taking a moment out to film this this fantastic piece of Czech cuisine. Czech cuisine is noted for its dumplings, and this is a monster sweet dumpling with strawberries inside of it. So I thought I'd just film it for my lovely audience. Right, so I'm going to cut it with my steely knife and see if I can kill the beast. To quote a famous song by the Eagles. And there's more strawberries inside of it. It's like bread actually. It's like a sweet, big sweet bun with all coconut on it. So there we are. Well, this afternoon I went to a meeting with one of the ambassadors on the area of Prague known as Prague 6, and I decided to try and walk back, but I walked in the wrong direction. I asked the policeman guarding the embassy that I'd just been in which way to the river, and he pointed me very kindly in the correct direction to the river at the nearest point from where we were. And I, of course, having forgotten that the river loops back on itself, then went down to the river to the north instead of to the south, and then followed the river for a while, going in completely the wrong direction. And only when it dawned on me that the sun was setting, that it was taking a long time to get to the centre and the sun was setting in the wrong direction, did it occur to me that I'd made a mistake. My mistake was basically in the way I'd phrased the question to a very polite policeman. Instead of asking the way to the centre, I asked the way to the river, assuming that that would be the same answer, and it wasn't. But anyway, it gives me the chance to try out a tram ride. I ended up going to Podbaba, was where I ended up, which is quite a long way away actually, and right at the end of this particular tram, which is the number 20 tram. There, I'm right next to Hradčany. In the tram, number 20. Pražský Hrad is the name of the tram stop. That yellow thing is the ticket machine. A ticket costs 26 crowns, which is like €1, and lasts for 90 minutes. It's half price for kids. So that's Prague Castle that we're passing there. We should be going downhill to pretty close to where the river is on the other side. This is pretty much where I thought I was walking when I walked down to the river on the other side. I thought it was a bit industrial. You couldn't see anything for factories. This is called Královský Letohradek. It sounds like the Royal Summer Garden. And what do I know? I don't speak Czech. By Christmas I'm aiming to speak Czech. Just peeking through the trees there, you can see the centre of Prague down below. We're going into an ear-popping descent down to the Vltava. I have to remember this map because it's obviously one of the ones where you can actually walk as a pedestrian, whereas the way that the coach goes is not possible to walk as a pedestrian through the tunnel. So if I want to walk to Prague 6, I better learn how to do it. Chotkova is the apparent name of the street. Seems to be some footbridges around, so I think there are more footpaths than roads, in fact, around here. I think there's a lot of parkland. Oh, that's very pretty. How about that? Unfortunately, people have a tendency to inscribe various things with probably the sharp diamonds of their rings onto the windows of these trams. So you've got I don't know if you can see it, but you've got various things which make it difficult to get a good shot through the window of a tram in this country. As you can see, it's got a big... For vehicles, you've got a kind of big zigzag. I've been in that. I've been in there. I definitely remember being in there with a BDO many years ago when they hosted a conference in Prague. I recognise that. I think with the way this tram runs, you stay on this side of the river. So to cross the river, if I want to cross the river and go home by tram, I have to change trams. I may simply walk. I'm actually tempted to get off at this point. That was a snap decision, but I see that some quite interesting stuff around just to look at, and I'm not really tied to anything. The ticket, if I wanted to get on another one, would be okay for another, well, I don't know, it's 90 minutes it says on it. I just got on it, so I've got another at least hour's worth of travel on the same ticket if I want it, but you know, that's not my aim. That's not why I'm out of an evening, to use all the trams. That might be something worth doing in the winter, by the way, just to go around and see the whole region. But as it is, lovely weather, much better to this is Klarov, much better to go on foot and see everything. The disadvantage that I have, yes, I see. The disadvantage that I have is that I have a nice smile there from the lady. She was a lady that told me not to get on the tram at the end of the stop because she wasn't going for another 5 minutes. She didn't want me sullying her tram while it was just standing there. I don't know whether I look like somebody that sullies trams, but there we are. You can hear that the ticking noise always gets louder when it's your turn to cross. But I don't know how the people that are hard of seeing, or whatever it's called, partially sighted or blind, how they can tell which one refers to where they're supposed to be going and which one refers to some other one nearby. How people don't get confused by it is beyond me. So there's a interesting depiction of the Czech flag there in heroic terms. The moon is out in force. Some nicely shaped trees. And we're crossing over from the, I don't know what you'd call it, which is the left and which is the right bank, because when you get rivers that go kind of meandering through a city, it's difficult to know which is left and which is right. But certainly the non-centre bank, if you like, into Prague 1. Oh. Here we have a nice bridge. That looks like the Charles Bridge over there, yes. We're not on the Charles Bridge, but then that gives us an opportunity to look at the Charles Bridge. So, that's the bridge. I think it's a little bit closer to where I've got my flat. That's the centre of Prague, with probably mainly government buildings over the river itself. And then for the other side, we have to go to the other side to get this really prime tourist view. I suppose can be best achieved by going to where the telescope thing is. If I were to put this at the end of the telescope, would I get a film down the telescope? I don't suppose so. Might try that one day, but I don't expect any good of it. So there you go, there's your Charles Bridge, I don't know what you call it, epitome I suppose of Prague. There it is. Another time I'll film going up and down it, but let's just have a look at it for tonight from a distance, from this distance. I'm not spending much time out tonight because I've got an obscenely early aeroplane in the morning, so I don't want to make too much of an evening of it. It's a lovely peaceful. I think it's called Maneshov Most, but I'm not sure. This one. It's nice and peaceful. And there's Prague Castle there, silhouetted a bit against the sun. Okay, that will do then for this. See, if I were in Prague for a one-off, I'd probably be filming like mad, like crazy, as I do in a lot of other places. But since I'm living here, I've got a flat here now, so nice. I prefer not to go at it too heavily, but just to keep the camera with me at all times, charged and with some film on it. And if anything unusual happens, then I've got it ready to film that rather than be always, going through the thing of really filming a lot every day and then uploading it to the computer at the end of the day and then having it charged up again for the next day. That kind of intensive filming's more when I go places that I'm only likely to go once, rather than places where I've taken a flat and where I'm living. So I once was having a chat with Tommy Boyd on the radio, and we agreed on one point: if you live in a place, you tend not to be as touristic as you would be if you were simply just visiting. But still, anything that's of interest is worth filming that you happen to see on the way. It's always worth doing. The problem is that I don't really know a lot yet. Later on, I've been here a while, I might be able to say a bit more about the things which are here. Somebody's shouting their head off there. So that person there is sort of seems to be made up of the letters of different alphabets. In order to get to him, I'm going to have to cross the road again. It's not one of the places where you can just cross the road willy-nilly, but I tend to do that anyway, because I kind of consider myself a free person. People usually look shocked when I do it, but what can you do? I want to have a look at this. This is interesting as well. Not sure what this is. Concert in Rudolftherednosinum. So that's presumably what this is. This is presumably the Rudolftherednosinum. And it's got nice Czech flags, and so I have to learn which way around the white, blue and the red are, since I'm going to be in this country and representing sometimes this countries' offices in international conferences, so I have to make sure that I'm au fait with all the things like the way the flag should go and everything, be able to draw it from memory. The blue is next to the flagpole, and I suppose it comes about halfway, not quite halfway down it, but where it meets where the three colours meet is pretty much, well, not quite halfway down it or along it. So Rudolftherednosinum. Suck Hall. That's nice. So we've got today. What have we got? At 7 p.m. today, which I suppose in about it's half an hour ago. I'm too late for it. A Little Night Music by Mozart. The Four Seasons Selection by Antonio Vivaldi. The Largo from New World Symphony by Dvorak. Of course, Dvorak is going to have a major say in this. Schubert is always a favoured one as well, and we've got the Blue Dandy. One thing that they've managed to do, thank you very much, is this every night?
Today.
So just today. Well, it started at 7.
The day after tomorrow.
Yeah, but it started at 7. Yeah, well, I'm too. Okay, well, I'll keep it because there are some more dates. But do you have a soprano, or is it just the
No, just the
orchestra? String orchestra. Is it a chamber orchestra, or is it chamber? Okay, all right then. I might come. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you saw that there was a lot of Smetana as well. I think there was an Offenbach position in there as well. But what I wanted to just point out was that oh, here's Dvorak. Fantastic. Here's Dvorak. So, for those of you who don't know, Antonin Dvorak was born in 1841 and died in 1904. So you got to see the 20th century, and there he is in all his splendour. I'm going to, as a tribute to him, I'm going to hum a bit of his most famous work, which is the New World Symphony, also known as the Hovis Advert. Dee, 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 dee. There you go. That's a great, well, it's not a very good tribute really, he deserves a lot better than that of course, but a little tribute to a great composer. And then I want to have a closer look at what this person's doing, because this is an interesting sculpture, this person made up of letters, because what we have is a statue made out of a shell of human beings made out of letters, but it's not complete, it's broken as it were, it's not finished as it were. It's like we're nearly there with it, but there's still something left to add, which is very poignant, isn't it? Let me see what they say about that statue. I wonder if it's another one of David Cherney's. It's got interesting things from around the world. It's not just obviously Latin letters. There's a mixture of letters from different parts of the world. There's some Chinese characters are included. I have to see what else there is there. I can see it's a tzadi there from Hebrew, pointing downwards. So, what does it say? What information is there about the statue? It says, Zakaz wstupu na podestu, pozor, strzeżono kamerą. Es ist verboten, die Plattform zu betreten. Vorsicht, Videoüberwachung. Do not enter the platform. Warning, monitored by camera. So you're being watched. It is being monitored by camera. I'm monitoring it by camera. Anyway, there it is. But what information is there about this marvellous statue made up of letters all joined one to the other? So what can you see there? I can see a het at the bottom, a th from Greek, a theta if you like. There's what looks like a cedilla but could be almost anything. There's an F from Russian there, very visible. Plenty of Fs. I can see another one up there as well. I can see some more Arabic letters. I can see an Ain there. I can see lots of Hebrew letters. I can see a Russian Z up there, and on the back of the head there, he's obviously got women on his mind with the Z for Женщина. And he's clutching, he seems to be clutching his knees as he's sitting there. I assume it's a male figure. Not necessarily, it's just a human figure. I mean, I just made the assumption it was a male figure. And it's just got all of these different letters there. I can see there's a mo there, there's a Japanese syllable from in katakana for mo, just on the knee there if you look carefully. There's an air for ether. There's an E over there next, just underneath the Hebrew kaf, and there's a Chinese character I can't recognise just underneath the omega. You can see the resting figure of the man radical next to a radical which looks kind of familiar, but I can't place it. In fact, most of the Chinese stuff which is in there I can't really place very well. I can see a tree radical, but then it's got a roof, then it's got the radical for the woman, and then the tree underneath it making up one character. I'm not sure what that is. Above it is the O from Japanese katakana. So they're not making up words, there's another one of the same at the back there, exactly the same selected Chinese character at the back, which you can see backwards just at the small of the back there. So they're using, there's a psi there on the, like at the just behind his elbow, if you like. I don't recognise most of the Chinese characters that are on there. Obviously I recognise all the katakana and hiragana and Hebrew letters, and the Arabic letters are just about all recognisable, and of course the Russian and Greek ones, but I can't see any examples of the use of Gurumukhi script or Sanskrit, but there might be that I'm just simply, oh, there is one. There's a Sanskrit letter or a Hindi letter just there in the inner elbow here, just next between the J and the Greek lambda, and just underneath the Greek lambda there's something which I assume is a ren symbol from Chinese, or nin in Japanese, which is just underneath it. You could have fun, you could work from top to bottom of him, identifying all the symbols and all the letters that there are in that statue. If you know a few alphabets, and I know one or two, you could probably have a lot of fun with that. But what is it? What's it all about? Let me have a look. Probably gonna. I don't. Sorry. It's Joan Plenser. It says transparency. Aha, so it's all about transparency, and it's during the light art project during the EU presidency. So this is for during the presidency. I've chased away a lady here, which was not my intention, but never mind. It says this: Plenser is stainless steel sculpture, carved by laser light. There you go, carved by laser light. So it is. Plenser is firstly presenting a sculpture which incorporates characters from various cultural backgrounds: Latin, Hebrew, Arabic, Russian, Hindi, Greek, Chinese and Japanese. I think I got most of them, although I said it could be Sanskrit for the Hindi, but there's not an awful lot of way of telling which is which. It is the intention of Joan Plensas to set a sign for the hope for freedom and understanding among the different peoples of the world. Yeah. So, yeah, it's alright. So it's next to the Spanish synagogue, apparently. Oh no, there's other artists, further artists have got Stephen Royce is next to the Spanish synagogue, Julian Opie of the UK is next to the National Theatre, and then there's a bunch of others. All of these light art projects are all to celebrate the Czech presidency of the European Union. I know that the Czechs also produced something which was like a map of Europe, which hung in Brussels for a while and caused no end of offence to people, because it was, he had a little bit of a joke, which I think is fair enough. I mean, if you can't have a joke at one another, then it means that Europe doesn't really gel very well. I think we know that people gel well together when you can have a bit of a joke at one another and it not be taken as offensive. That's when you know that you do. Because, I mean, for example, if I'm from Hertfordshire, which I am, not by birth but by upbringing, and I have a crack at somebody from Bedfordshire, yeah, just in a jokey way. So you people from Bedfordshire, you're all country bumpkins or something, yeah, or make some kind of John Bunyan joke, although I find it difficult to make a John Bunyan joke. You know, I wouldn't expect an awful lot of offence to be taken because, you know, there's not really any conflict between Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire. I mean, Hertfordshire and Essex is a little bit different maybe, but Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire are, you know, like they're two peas in a pod really. Now they might, you know, come back and say, oh, you guys in Hertfordshire, are you still actually distinguishable from London or something like that? He might make a joke back at me, yeah? But with regard to other nations, it becomes more difficult. Although there of course would have been a time when if somebody from Mercia had made a joke about somebody from Anglia, that person from Anglia might have taken the person from Mercia, slit his throat and drowned him in a peat bog, which I understand they had in England in those days, and taken it very much to heart. But now of course you know, somebody from Mercia may not even realise that that's where they're from, you know, so things change. And I'm looking for a time when people of different countries can just have a laugh and don't even really notice that they're from different countries. Countries are a bad way of doing things. You have to have a passport, and that passport determines who you are when all it is a piece of paper, and it determines where you can go, and that's all bound into the taxes that you pay. And okay, paying taxes is a good thing, I suppose, if you want to live in a mixed economy, which is the best way of doing things. You have to pay taxes, and I certainly don't want to suggest that we should have a situation where people don't pay taxes. They should pay taxes, but because we have countries, you know, one country arranges its taxes this way, then another arranges it that way, and people pick and choose between them, and countries don't want them to, so they try and limit what people can do with their freedom. And it's also bound in with what languages they speak, whereas in the end everybody of any intelligence speaks several, but they don't get to be members of several different countries. Although I'd actually be in favour of awarding, if we're going to have countries at all, which I'm not really in favour of, I would be in favour of awarding citizenship of countries, even if you've no intention of going there, just on the basis of the fact that you've passed an exam in the language. Because that means that you can think a bit like the people from there, and you can see their point of view more easily if you're proficient in the language. Anyway, I'm getting boring, so I'll stop. Well, I've come to stop at a restaurant called Rudolftherednosinum, which is the restaurant next to the Moldau, and the place mat, which is printed out on nice paper, shows the lady here pouring it out from a vessel, wearing a laurel leaf or laurel crown on her head and not on a great deal more, pouring it out from its source, going past Vichy Brod with that architecture and that shield, and Rosenberg nad Vltava with this architecture and crown, and then Český Krumlov, Zlata Koruna or golden crown. You've got something called the Malsha joining in here from Zimov. There's České Budějovice, or also known as Budweis, or where Budweiser beer comes from there. Hluboká coming in there with the Lajnica River, Otava coming through Písek with that interesting bridge there, and then gradually here's another one which I can't remember, Sazara or Sazada joining in there, and you're following the Moldau up here till you come to Prague, with this is the symbol for Prague, and there's and then you've got Karlstein, you've got the architecture here. Then you've got it going on, joining the Elboro Lava here and going off into Germany through those hills at the top. So there you are. That's the, and this is on Brzechova, which means Brzech presumably means bank of a river. So it's Riverbank Street. Some nice architecture over there. You've got some gargoyles, if you like, holding up the balcony there. And over there you've got a kosher restaurant with the Hebrew letters for kosher on the thing there. Because there's synagogues around here. The synagogue behind this building is a synagogue called the no, I can't remember it. There's one synagogue, and then there's the old new synagogue. And the old new synagogue, I believe, is where they've got the Golem, where they put the Golem, which was produced. Well, I mean, the Golem legend, I don't want to really talk about it because I don't know much about it, but the Golem basically is this sort of almost Frankenstein figure which was created by this rabbi to avenge the Jewish people from their problems and to protect them. But, if you want to know about Golem, then look it up in Wikipedia. But it's apparently sleeping in a synagogue not far from here, just around the corner from Brzechova Street. We might see it later on. So we've now been, the restaurant's now been entered by a large group standing in the middle. On the far wall over there is the same thing as we've got on the placeholder mats here, and there's a lovely fish tank over there with tropical fish in it, and a big telly up on the wall as well. So it's quite a nice place, quite a comfortable place. Let me tell you that as far as this is concerned, I'm not entirely sure how it works that the fish are swimming in straight. Oh no, I know what that is. It's a flying fox, and that's why it's what we call a flying fox. That fish is why it's swimming at that angle. It should be swimming at odd angles. I thought there was something wrong with it. Apalsiorhynchus is, I think it's Apalsiorhynchus, the Latin name of that fish. So basically that's what's going on. So we've got quite a large group of young people. I don't know what they're going to do in here, but hopefully not smoke a lot, but thankfully I've got the window here that I'm sitting next to. That's why I chose this. I was seated at this, even though it's a long table. I'm at here because I said I didn't like smoke, and he put me next to, as you can see, it's an open window. Yeah, I'm next to a window, but the window's wide open. Oh, there you can see it being open. So it just suits me down to the ground. If they do want to smoke in here, I can go outside. In fact, it's no skin off my nose if they're short of places to go outside. But I'll see if they can get themselves seated over there first. But, so that's nice. It's a nice Prague evening with plenty of Praguish atmosphere around here. Right, as usual, I've got my food shooting drill. That's sheep's or goat's cheese with roast vegetables on a aubergine, that the Americans call an eggplant, cut in half, and there's some chips to go with it. Nice big fat English chips, not the processed chips from before. So this is a very pleasing place. There's free tomato ketchup, all you like, and the other condiments there as well. So this is a really good place. I think I'll come here more often. Okay, still in the vault of our restaurant. Very nice looking plant, not plastic. It's obviously been there for some time. Golden gourami, but some very fine looking cherry barbs. Really full size and with good colour. The female's well fed, good condition, gravid. There's the flying fox I mentioned earlier. Flying fox Apalsiorhynchus there. A fine, intelligent fish. I'd like to have one of those. It's a lovely fish. I probably will get one in the near future. Only problem is I've got a labio bicolor, and they can get on badly with each other because they're the same shape. You see, they're quite related to each other. They're both basically Asiatic minnows, and they fight. So let's find there's some longfin zebradanios. What I think is missing in this is a catfish. I can't see any catfishes around on the floor, which might be quite pleasant, but I suppose in a way the flying fox is fulfilling the role of a catfish. It has an underslung mouth, and but it's a good tank. It's a second. It's a different goggle. I mean, that looks like a pair, a male and a female. There's a female down there. Quite old, actually, I have to say. but it's obviously been in this state for quite some time. But it's good accuracy. So there we are. Have a look. We'll have a look at it from the outside as well. So this is Brzechova. You know you're in the right place if you see that. I don't think I left anything. I think I've got my hands empty. So I left my case back at the flat earlier to go to the what I'm going on this side of the road for, but maybe it's good for just taking some shots of the architecture. I said I wasn't going to do a lot of filming, but I just can't help it. So there we go, 1911, and a lady with the house actually in her hands. So there we are, nice bit of architecture there. Les Moules, obviously. Do you like mussels? Not very near the sea, but they're obviously they've got an there's some Jewish folk coming out of their synagogue, which probably the Pinkov synagogue. That's mantra Thai massage there. It seems to be that they've got they do quite a big thing out of Thai massages along here. There's an interesting. There's the Hebrew signs. This is Mysilova. Upravni reduti. There we are, some quite remarkable. Not sure, is this the... Not sure what this is. That's probably just some flats, but it looks very interesting. Cultural monument. But there are Hebrew signs on the clock up there, which is interesting. And Chervená Street means Red Street. Oh, that's interesting. That's a bit lucky, isn't it? Chime just for me. And you, of course, the viewer. The clock. Oh, here's got more Hebrew written on it, so obviously we're in a very Hebrew... I can't read that, but probably my friend Alan Heath would be able to make short work of interpreting all of this. If you want to know about Jewish history, then he's the man to talk to. And his channel on YouTube is youtube.com/Alan Heath, just written as one word, as you'd expect it to be. There's the Star of David on the top of that. And so it's probably a synagogue. There are police outside it. There often are in front of synagogues because of the threat continually posed to Jewish believers by anti-Semites, which is very regrettable. It seems always to have been a problem. The good thing is that there's somebody looking after them, which there hasn't always been. So here we are. This was one of the things I wanted to look at. It says Old New Synagogue, Stara Nova Synagoga. So I don't know what it's going to say, but this is the Old New Synagogue. And isn't that the place where the Golem is? In there somewhere, resting. I'm not sure if this is the right one, if this is the Golem's one, but have to find out. I don't have my guidebook with me, and I didn't read it attentively enough before coming here and filming it. So there we are. But it doesn't say anything there about it. I'll walk around it and see if I can find more information. So you need tickets for it if you want to go in there. So it's evidently a museum rather than a place of actual worship. I don't think that you have to buy tickets for a place of active worship, but you have to buy tickets for things at a museum, so by that token it's probably a museum. But it's not open now, it being 20:51 at night. But anyway, this is it. So if I want to see this, there's some King Solomon's kosher restaurant. That's also a synagogue. This is his synagogue. Oh, and that could be U Starej Synagogi, Restauracja U Starej Synagogi. So it's a restaurant by the old synagogue. So you can get Hebrew watches, Kiddush cups, kippahs, dreidels, if you want to celebrate Hanukkah in a traditional way, Torah pointers and other things you can get in here. I'm not sure that it's open right now. I need a kippah, but I can't get hold of one right there at the moment, so at least I know where to come for a kippah in due course. So here we are. Nice old architecture. Dobry wieczór. This is the Żydowska Nabożeńska Obec Pracy. So it's again the nice Mogondovid around the 1908 around the crown by the looks of it, for King David presumably. He was a fine king, he knew what he was up to. Unfortunately you don't get that many leaders like King David these days. How many kings do you know that have built cities that have lasted for 3,000 years? Or more. So that's Theresienstadt. Experience your precious legacy the intelligent way. It's a little bit of a crack at the opposition, I suppose. But the Theresienstadt, it's about an hour north of Prague. And of course it was Theresienstadt that was the show camp, the show place camp that the Nazis had, which made they invited Hans Blix. Well, obviously Hans Blix wasn't around then, but the sort of 60 years earlier equivalent of Hans Blix, to go and see if there were any smoking guns there, and he came back and said, oh, there weren't any. So it's this kind of Swedish way they have, and so everybody said, oh no, there's no problem with concentration camps for Jews. Of course there was. It's just that very typically they got it wrong. The Swedes were sent by the United Nations, or the League of Nations, to check out what Hitler was up to. That's the same as they sent a Swede to find out what Saddam Hussein was up to. I remember once a Swede came to see me in Russia. He rang me from the airport and said, I've got this guy telling me that I need a visa. Tell him what nonsense it is. I said, you cannot be serious, but he was. Actually, that's not fair on Swedes generally, because you get a lot of them which are very clever and very worldly wise, but it's just a bit of an odd coincidence that the people in Theresienstadt, or the person inspecting Theresienstadt and the person inspecting Saddam Hussein, both came up with the same answer. obviously in the case of Hans Blix, he discovered that there wasn't a smoking gun, or he couldn't find a smoking gun. And to be honest with Hans Blix, although I was very, very at the time vituperative about his effort, the Allied forces, when they got in there, couldn't find one either. So here we've got Franz Kafka's bookshop. So it's the Franz Kafka Society is here. So there you've got Kafka. I'm still talking about Hans Blix, but basically, you know, it possibly wasn't Hans Blix's fault, for the simple reason that when the Allies got there, they couldn't find anything either, and everybody got up and down and danced up and down saying, well, look at this, you see, we went and on false pretenses that he has weapons of mass destruction, and there aren't any, and Hans Blix told us there aren't any, and he was right, there aren't any. Well, maybe he'd already got rid of them by the time they got there, okay, and even Hans Blix got there. I mean, he did do a little bit of delaying around beforehand, and then he let him in. I'm talking about Saddam Hussein delaying before letting Hans Blix finally go in, making a big show of secrecy about things, and then finally letting him in, and there wasn't anything there at all, which anyway seems suspicious to me. Why make a secret of it if it turns out there's nothing there? But unless you're deliberately trying to cause trouble, which is of course also not impossible. But it seems to me that he either completely destroyed or transferred to another rogue state what he had. The fact that he had it is known to the intelligence community, because, you know, the Western countries know what they sold him. That's putting it very bluntly. Okay? We know what he had because we know what we sold him. Which, of course, it's difficult to put it that way because it exposes the whole unfortunate hypocrisy of the West, but there are good reasons behind that, in inverted commas, hypocrisy, because, of course, in the time when we were all fighting communism together, the Muslims were all chummy with us because they also didn't want communists around. You know, Christians and Muslims could unite against these atheist pagan communists. And also Saddam Hussein was a good man because he was, you know, able to resist certain forms of fundamentalism as well afterwards. So everybody thought, yeah, he's a good man, we'll sell him weaponry. And we know what we gave him, or sold him. And then finally, nice antiquariat. That'd be a nice thing to have up on the wall, wouldn't it? If you've got arachnophobia or anything like that. So you can't say that somebody like Tony Blair didn't know what he was doing, because obviously Tony Blair had access to everything that the British had ever sold in the past, and he knew what sorts of ordnance were available. He may have had information from other countries, what they sold him. So, as well as having confirmatory leaks from people who had some positions in Iraqi society. So there were various things which, for reasons of public, or, you know, you can't make them public for reasons of security of the people that were giving the information, as well as, you know, for the sake of, you know, not stirring up an even bigger hornet's nest. But the fact that they thought he had them for good reasons, short of knowing for sure that he'd got rid of them. Oh, there's the image theatre that somebody was asking me about earlier. Original non-verbal shows. So you've got some kind of circus act in there, which I'm not particularly tempted by. And
and then the top of she named about Henry. Right now.
Okay, so we've got in down what I think was Parishka Street. We've actually got our way to the central square again. This being the back end of the astronomical clock tower. Well, just too short. And there's Tin Church up there, of course. And it being now a lighter point at which we're in this old town square than I'm usually here at. It's not very big actually. You can just in a few steps before you know where you are, you've got into another part of it. But it's packed with all these interesting buildings and history and things. And there's the old tin church up there. And walk around this monument and find out what it's all about. Hang on. That's very ornate up there. Narodny Gallery, National Gallery. Nice pink cloud up there. So what are these folk all about then? What's that statue all about? This is an interesting... It says don't put your foot on the flower bed in Esperanto. But no signs are up saying what it's actually all about and who that is supposed to be up there. Oh, so that's the astronomical clock actually going, and I thought that I was too late for it, but I wasn't in theory, and I am now. But like I said, this is not the best camera to film that. I don't know how many times I'm going to film this astronomical clock thing going. You can't see very much anyway until you get right up close to it or put a real magnifying lens on it. So I just have to do that on another occasion when I've got a different camera. I haven't bothered bringing that one yet, the better one that I've got. Anyhow, I'll make my way back to that statue because I still don't know what it is. I still haven't seen the label saying what that statue actually is, whether maybe I'm supposed to just know it. But I'm wondering whether it's Hus, which would be good if it is. I like Hus. It's big and it's impressive. and one hopes that it is Hus, but there's nothing to say who it is. Nothing there explains what it actually is all about, this, and it should be on this side because that's where his face is, but all it's got is this sign saying don't stand on this, but what it is doesn't say. Which is a bit of a pity. Oh, there is something here. Here is something. It says here fell in the Prague uprising Joseph Verba, and here fell in 1945 Hinek Schlossar, 34 years of age, and Karol Janacek, 38 years of age, who were partisans from Horowitz. I don't think it's them because it's a completely different costume to the costume of 60, 70 years ago. So I don't think that that's actually their a statue actually to them, because it's in a much older costume. I think it is Hussites, but but they don't say anything about it, which I find sad. Not that I find it bad that they put up a commemoration to somebody else who gave their life for their country. That's very well and good, but why not also make it clear who the actual monument is for? I don't understand that. I think it's almost like they want to hush up the fact that they had a great Protestant history. It seems a little bit that way, and I'm sad to see that. I've walked all the way around it and I can't see any label that says that this is anything to do with Hus. I think it is, and I'm still not 100% certain. But, I think that something needs to be done about that, especially it's a pity when that's so unlabelled, left unlabelled, when we've got the European Union 2009 CZ going on. As that sign up there on that building reminds us. And I think going up this way you've got the George and the Dragon, and you've got tonight you've got live music. It seems to be a particularly well, made for British people, this, which is probably atrocious because the ones you've got an English flag, you've got a British flag, and you've got a Czech flag. And the English flag makes the plus for the George plus Dragon. So what have we got? Yeah, English specialities, Anglická kuchynia. So what do they consider English kitchen to be? Bangers and mash smothered with onion gravy, English style fish and chips with tartar sauce, sirloin juicy steak with fried onions, mushrooms, tomatoes served with roasted potatoes, steak and mushroom pie with... Now that certainly beats the socks off the sound of what passes for English cuisine in a similar themed restaurant in Warsaw. Now I've already eaten because you just saw me eat, but I'm certainly coming back here one other night and see what they're doing with it. Maybe this is a place where I can get some good old English grub, and maybe they might even be authentic. I mean, if they can do authentic Indian food, it must be easy to do authentic British food. But not in Warsaw it seems, but maybe they can manage it here. Oh, what's this? It says bed lounge. It looks like there's beds all inside of it. It looks like you go to the restaurant in a bed, which is interesting. Yeah, people are actually eating food on beds, on one great big bed, which goes all the way down there. I think it's got a hint of naughtiness about it. Anyway, this street here is a long street. It winds its way along various parts of the town. Mama Lucy's Steakhouse we have here, which I suppose is an American theme. So it's called Long Street because it's a long street. It's called Dlouhá, and this Dlouhá street is actually the one that I've got a flat on, so I live on Loha Street. I won't tell you the exact address, but this is where I live for 2 nights a week on average. So it runs up from exactly that central point, and it's not that long. It's not, you know, like American style long where the house numbers get into the thousands. I mean, my house number's less than 50. I'll give you that much of a clue. And I don't want people turning up and saying, "Hey, can I crash?" As I'm a too private person, as you can tell. I don't like sharing details of my life with too many people. So anyway, that's what it looks like. So it's like walking along with a camera. People look in various ways. They see me walking along, talking into something which is filming, obviously, and some people look, you know, slightly resentful, as though I'm stealing their soul or something. Other people, you know, that couldn't give a damn, and that's the way I like it, when people just simply behave as though it's something completely normal. Now it forks off into 3 different ways, this street, at this point, and which one of them is the one I want to go is anybody's guess. I'll have to check the names one after another. I've walked down it that way, but I haven't walked back. But even if I go the wrong one, it's just going to be interesting anyway. I'll take the extreme right one first, because it looks about right. Not this one. I don't think I'll go down that. It doesn't look right. The street that I live on has got traffic going the other way, so I'll take this one. And what we have here is the Bohemia Bagel restaurant. Now this doesn't look right at all, actually. I think I've picked the wrong one. But never mind, let's keep going. The Bohemia Bagel with an internet cafe in it, which could be quite an interesting thing. So I haven't got internet at home, but then I've got it at the office. If I need something, I can look it up there. And here's a sushi place. Whether it's a good one or a bad one is anybody's guess. It's called Yami. Now Yama, I understand, means mountain, but what Yami means I'm not quite sure. Haven't come across that word yet in Japanese, so what Yami means I do not know. But the prices are for sets. You can have a set with 12 nigiri and 12 hoso maki for 720, which is, well, that puts it at a bit more expensive really than what do you call it, than Poland. But actually Japanese folk in there, they might be. Although in Russia what they do is they put Central Asians in there who are, you know, like Tajiks, who have already a Chinese-like appearance. And pass them off as Japanese. Of course, the minute you speak to them in Japanese, it kind of gives the game away. No, this is definitely not the right one, but nevertheless, it's interesting. I'm seeing the centre, as it were, from the back, and this is like a tin. Utina. This is over there. I don't know. Tin was a bit further back, but never mind. Sort of covered play areas for ball games. Maybe that's a school or something. It's difficult to have schools in inner cities, you know, because there's so little space for the kids to go out and play. They just play usually in a paved courtyard. There's no it's not the best place to be bringing kids up inside a city, but of course that's where people work. So I mean, real inner city. I'm not talking about the suburbs that usually you can find much, space for things like that are important. I'm talking about the real inner city, the central business district. To actually have schools there is very difficult. There's always so much pressure for every bit of space. So I'm not exactly sure what this street is called. That was quite an interesting shot there. If I'd got the right camera. I don't think I'm going to get it on this. Am I getting that? I think I'm getting something. I'm getting the moon behind that. I think you saw what I saw. Although the eye is better. The eye's not as good as some cameras, but it's certainly better than this camera. They're actually focusing right up to what part of it you want to look at. Whereas with this, it's only double zoom and it's only optical zoom. Sorry, it's only digital zoom, no optical zoom. So I'm not getting much of a zoom. That's the sort of sound you get in a Czech pub. It's people having a jolly old chat to each other at the top of their voices, and it sounds very friendly and like people usually have a good old laugh and what have you. It's nice. So it's a nice country actually. The people are inoffensive, pleasant in the main, and they've certainly got their opinion though, there's no doubt about that. But they're friendly, they're open, they're open and pleasant to strangers, and the sights are pleasant and interesting. The natural beauty is very good because of the contours and the rivers and everything. They're good looking people, you have to admit it. Mixture of many different sorts of blood from the time of the Habsburgs, no doubt. And it's a sort of classical, old-fashioned, interesting environment. You can feel quite at home here, I think. Right.
Oi, 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 oi.